Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today, we're going to look at journey number 24 through 27, finishing up our extensive examination of this wonderful comic by William Messner Loebs. A lot of good stuff in these issues, so let's get started. It really makes me sad that this series didn't continue. So here's number 24, another nice cover. And once again, we start off with the journal entries of Elmer Allen Kraft. So Elmer has kind of made it his mission, since he feels he's the most educated person there, to get to the bottom of all the random mysteries in this small New Hope village. And there's lots of murders have happened. People have disappeared. It's a very small community, and with a very high percentage of shenanigans. So if you remember last issue, once again, Agatha, the granddaughter of Founder Wright, was found sleepwalking, and Elmer was trying to wake her up. Of course, right then, Drummond Wright, Founder Wright, walked in. Of course, he was just like, "What are you doing with my daughter?" Luckily, Eleanor was, she vouches for him, because the grandfather doesn't believe. He even says, "Oh, you're going to try to tell me she was sleepwalking or some such rot?" And Eleanor saves Elmer's bacon and says, "Actually, she was. I saw her get up. She kind of stepped on my head as she, in her trance." So she wakes up, and then the two founders, Ross and Wright, they inform Wolverine and Elmer that from now on they're going to have to pull their weight. Even though they killed that wolf, which none of them could do, they want them to do more chores if they're going to stay in this community. So Elmer has hopes that maybe Eleanor has mellowed towards him, because if you remember, she has every reason to hate his guts. He kind of abandoned her. She was in love with him, and he kind of just ran off. And we realize that Eleanor has really changed. She basically tells Elmer this kind of an intense little speech here, where she says, "I'm a vessel of wrath. I must make myself evil enough to destroy evil. Stay out of my way or you'll get hurt." So she's got some steel in her. And if you remember also, she's pretty convinced that her husband, Treen, I believe his name was, the Reverend, she's pretty sure someone in the village killed him, but she doesn't have the proof. So she walks in, Eleanor walks into the common house. She gives Wolverine a note and says, "Meet me outside." And she basically tells him her plan. Because remember the Bible that Wolverine had to deliver? Over like the first 24 issues, he was holding on to this package. And it turns out it was a bloodied Bible, but there's a note in it. And it says, "Dearest brother, I hope this reaches you in your new home. I have received a missive from Humphrey Collins. In it, he freely confesses," and then all of a sudden an arrow comes out of nowhere, pins the note to Wolverine's chest, and luckily doesn't kill him. So Eleanor says, "Help, the Indians are attacking." So Humphrey Collins was the other founder, the one who died. There was 3 founders of New Hope. So Wolverine's going to be okay. And and then Drummond Wright, Founder Wright, he's all like, "Give me that letter." You know, he doesn't want the contents of that letter being shared. But Elmer just kind of grabs it and starts reading it out loud. So we continue where we left off. "Freely confesses his part in the murder of our father and dear Aunt Grace Archer. So they're talking about the Reverend and this woman Grace. And remember how whenever Agatha's asleep, she always mentions something about when is an archer a harper. So this kind of is on the way to solving this puzzle. So of course everyone's just like, oh my God. And then what's his name? Oh, sorry about that. I lost my little cheat sheet because I'm getting confused by all this family affair business. Founder Ross is crying, we see. And we see Wright kind of hiding his face in shame. And so Founder Ross tells the story. I guess back during the Revolutionary War, this Quaker woman was showing up. This is Archer. And the American soldiers all hated her. She was preaching peace. That's what Quakers do. They're really anti-war. And so they basically stoned her, and they threw her in the river, and then they pulled her out and held her in bondage. I mean, just really heinous, torturous murder. They beat her with sticks, and then they tossed her in the river again, and this time she died. And Founder Wright grabs the note and finally rips, kind of crushes it. So it's so strange how, like, basically we all know now that the founders all were responsible for this. But everyone's just all like, yeah, that was a long time ago. And everyone hates the Quakers. So it's not like their children or whatever abandon them or try to prosecute them, whatever. Ross is even admitting, like, the savage delight and glee he took in killing her. And we get all the characters kind of commenting on this news. Excuse me, guys. So now we see, we're flashing back. That's why it's the wispy yard again. Sorry, guys. My cough is getting really bad. I hope it's not too obnoxious. So this is basically showing the family tree here, kind of showing how many of them have died. 2 of the wives are dead that the founders married. Basically, it's almost like every other child has died. So there's all these murders. No one's quite sure who did what. And Elmer is really trying to get to the bottom of it. So Drummond Wright, Founder Wright, he talks about Humphrey Collins. He never lost the guilt of that act of killing that Quaker woman. It always ate at him. And that's almost why they came out to the wilderness. They all felt this incredible guilt, so they figured maybe the wilderness will, heal us somehow. Or, we'll forget about our past. And we also, of course, get even more proof that Nathaniel, the frontiersman who led them to New Hope, Wright killed him. Because, what's his face? Mandrel, Ross's son. He seems to know the truth. Kind of interesting way to, like, get all these first-person narratives out. It does kind of almost feel like more like a mystery novel. Or, like, spotlight on this character as he kind of spills the beans. Oh, I'm sorry, I was confused. The Quaker woman is Nathaniel's sister, not Reverend Treen. They all have their justifications. They claim that Nathaniel was going to kill them all in revenge for what they did to his sister. It's a really elaborate mystery. William Mesner Loebs, I wouldn't mind reading another mystery from him. And also Wright's son, Watson, the one with the eye patch. He talks about his wife, who's now gone, Laura. She died. Or so we think. A lot of people talk about Simon. So Simon was the twin brother of Templar, the archaeologist. And they were like night and day. Simon was an evil, sadistic piece of shit. He had the devil in him. Of course, Mandrill kind of had a soft spot for him because he's kind of a bastard too. So, I guess I can't tell you every panel in here. I should speed up a little. So Mandrill just tells his parents that he's going out to live in the forest again. He's sick of civilization. We find out all these sins of the past. All these people admit stuff like, oh, yeah, I was in love with them, and yada, yada, yada. We also find out, Laura tells Elmer about how Collins raped her. So now Elmer and Wolverine go to visit Templar in his little mound where he's studying the old skulls. And Wolverine says, I knew a fella who could talk to skulls and the dead. And all of a sudden, it's Per Winter, the one he's talking. You don't remember him? Remember him from, he could speak to the dead? So, who do they get here? Oh, it's Humphrey Collins. And now Humphrey Collins, if you remember, he was killed when the earthquake hit. He was caught under a beam when a house collapsed. So Per Winters, does the ritual. He paints the skull, and it's actually Humphrey Collins' voice says, I'm trapped. My sins have come back. Simon, Meg, all taken from me. Meg was his first wife. Simon is the evil son who died. So it appears that, okay, so at least they know Humphrey Collins died the way he was, they said. He wasn't murdered. And then he's going to say, oh, let's see what Simon has to say. And Templar's terrified. And Templar admits to killing Simon. Simon would torture him. He tortured him their whole childhood. And then he kind of lost his mind. And he basically said, it was his great revenge on me. I took his punishments my whole life. And then basically he was like, I became just as evil as he. He had made me him. Because after that, he saw Agatha in the woods. And then he sexually assaulted her. So both brothers sexually assaulted her, even though one, most of his life was good, but he lost his mind. So I guess times were different back then, where you'd think they would just be like, okay, shoot that guy in the head. He's admitting to this horrible crime. And then we find it even this is like a soap opera. So, Founder Wright's son, Watson, the one with the eye patch, he admits that his wife isn't dead. Laura is not dead. And neither is Everett, his brother. They actually ran off together. They told him, they said, listen, sorry, we're in love with each other. We're leaving the town. And so he just told everyone that the Indians had killed them. So this is quite a lot of intrigue. And then we find out that the Quaker woman, Archer, she was actually pregnant. And I guess before she died, she gave birth. And it turns out that little baby was Mandrill. Because Ross basically adopted him. He felt guilty. So he said the least I could do was raise the kid not to be a damn Quaker. And it appears he did too good a job, he says, because Mandrill is the opposite of a Quaker. He's very violent. God, this is a lot of shit in this issue. So Elmer starts scheming to get Eleanor back. He realizes he's still in love with her. And the founders of the village, they basically say, okay, you guys got to get married if you're going to live here. and they basically just tell him who they're going to marry. So they tell Elmer he has to marry 15-year-old Agatha. And they tell Wolverine that he's got to marry Mrs. Eleanor Treen, the widow. Of course, both of them are like, gulp. Oh, I'm so glad they got rid of that stupid calendar in this issue. This letter page has a lot of nice little spot illustrations from William Mesner Loebs, all showing Trough, the dog. We met in Trough Searle Knurl, that we met in like number 9. All these really cute pictures, actually. I like these illustrations. It's like him as a puppy. And then we get another illustration from Joshua Quagmire of Cutie Bunny fame. It's kind of interesting. This guy just goes by the name of Raldo. That's a pretty nice drawing there. So that's it for number 24. Here's the cover of the wedding nuptials. And we see Agatha. She's thrilled that she's going to get married. She's very naive, on the cusp of being like mentally retarded. She's really an idiot. She's like a 10-year-old girl. She's not very bright. She's kind of crazy though, but I mean all the shit that's happened to her. God, this is so much Eisner-esque shit going on here. So, of course, Elmer does not like this at all. He definitely does not want to marry Agatha. Eleanor gets some really good dialogue in these pages. She's really just become this, like, harsh fist of vengeance. I like the scene here where Elmer's so mad that Wolverine's going to be marrying his beloved. He starts slapping him, saying, fight back. Why won't you fight back? And Wolverine just calmly says, because if I fight back, I'll kill you. And so Elmer calms down. So they're getting ready for their wedding. And the wedding goes off without a hitch, unfortunately, because neither of them want this. Oh my God, Wolverine's marriage speech is so great. He basically tells him this horrible story about being almost killed by beavers, and then a bunch of water rats were eating his fingers. It was just a really bad day. And he says, point is, I don't reckon getting married could be much worse than that. So let's do her. And this is after, Agatha to this totally joyous kind of acceptance of marriage. Oh, and Eleanor is just really brutal. Life is basically an ugly, brutish madness, interrupted by spasms of heroic murder. I may as well be married as I wait for the black tide of death to wash over me. This is definitely not your typical wedding. So then Agatha, for some reason, is like, oh, we have to go on a wedding tour. I hear that's what they do back east. They go to Paris or something, but we can't do that. So we'll walk through the woods. And she's fancifully, imaginatively saying, this could be the tree where Robin Hood and King Arthur used to dance around. She's mixing up all the fairy tales. Mixing up King Arthur and Robin Hood and Grimm's fairy tales. It's kind of funny. And the whole time, Templar is kind of stalking them. Wolverine and Elmer notice. They're like, hey, Templar's following us. And they're like, yeah, we'll see what happens. And then all of a sudden, Agatha runs into that Indian who's been kind of watching New Hope for the past, 4 issues. Every now and then he pops up. And finally, Wolverine talks to him. His name is Living Quietly to Fool the Eagle. And he's actually, he was born a European. But he was captured by Indians when he was a little boy, and he grew up to be one. And he totally is one, as far as culturally and socially. He even, hates all white men. He's like, oh, you guys are disgusting, the way you live. And so then, I keep forgetting his name. Mandrill shows up. And Mandrill basically is like Agatha's mind. Because Agatha, he saw Simon rape her. And so he figured, back then, it's like, nobody will want you, but I do. So he's just so annoyed that supposedly nobody would want her. So she should be thrilled that he does. But she's always never liked Mandrill. Because he's a bastard. So Eleanor tries to fight him off. She's like, unhand her, you murdering swine. So she pretty much knows Mandrill killed her husband. And so finally they chase off Mandrill. Or he runs off. I guess he loses his nerve. And everyone goes back to New Hope. And then, though, what should I call him? I don't want to keep saying his name. Let's just call him Living Quietly. Living Quietly tells him, he said, oh, I saw that guy get murdered. That, the reverend you're talking about. He calls him a black-bearded ogre of a medicine man. I saw him get killed, and she was there, he says. But then Grandpa, Drummond Wright shows up and chases off Living Quietly. He hates him. So now they're getting ready for their wedding night. They give him these little tents. And this is some just sad, awkward shit. Nobody wants to consummate it. Well, at first, Wolverine's kind of into it. Wolverine's a frontiersman. He takes wherever he can get it. But then Eleanor starts saying weird shit. And just saying really, basically, boner-killing things about how marriage is just a species of prostitution. So I want to give you the fullest value so you'll help me get revenge. She's basically saying, I'm just using you. You can use my body, but then I'm going to use you. So Wolverine's just like, nah, this isn't very sexy. Also, I like the concurrent narratives here, the dual narratives. And then we see Elmer totally basically pushing her away, Agatha, just saying, oh, it's time for sleep. And so both of them go to bed without consummating the wedding. In the middle of the night, Agatha wakes up and Wolverine does. I guess they just leave their sleeping partners. And they have a conversation. And it's kind of sweet. Like Wolverine talks to this, young girl and teaches her how to smoke a pipe. She really opens up to him, and actually doesn't seem as fizz-giggy as she has throughout this comic. She actually seems kind of lucid. We do finally find out a little bit about the whole Wolverine and his dad situation. They just keep, William Eisner Lopes keeps leaving us little breadcrumbs. But she said, "How did you leave your daddy, Mr. McAllister?" And Wolverine says, "I hit him over the head with a pail of sand. Then I walked off. Never knew if I killed him." So now we realize that, yeah, his father was and him didn't have a very good relationship. We also realize there may be some kind of weird thing going on between Agatha and her father, Watson Wright, where it's almost like since his wife, her mother, ran off with his brother, it's almost like he's kind of using her as a substitute. It doesn't mention anything too gnarly, but it is kind of weird. And then Mandrill comes out of nowhere and conks Wolverine out with his rifle butt. We get more letter pages, some more sketches by William Eisner Lopes. I kind of like these humorous little sketches. There's some fan art. And that's it for this issue. Okay, now we got number 26. I like the colors on this cover. So we start off once again, well, not starting off once again, but it's one of Wolverine's dreams again, his nightmares. I love the style William Eisner Lopes uses in these dreams, totally different than the rest of the comic. And once again, it's obviously like, this monster who's probably his dad, we assume, just like terrorizing him. And then Elmer says, "Wake up, Wolverine. Agatha's gone." So Mandrill has taken Agatha, and Wolverine, it seems like he's concussed. Everyone wakes up, says, "What the hell's going on?" Wolverine says he's going to go and find Mandrill. And more stuff is revealed. People say stuff, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, Eleanor really loses it now. She pulls a knife on Wilson here. I'm sorry, not Wilson. On Founder Ross. She's really starting to just, she's trying to make herself evil. So Wolverine finds Agatha's father, Watson, out there. He's like, "I chased them." And it's almost like in his head, the way he's describing it, he basically doesn't try to rescue his daughter. He basically says, "Go, get out of here, you tramp. You're just like your mother." You see why I had to stop her, don't you, Wolverine? And he says, "Reckon I do see." But he's talking about something else. He reckons that he does see that this guy's got some unnatural fixation on his own daughter. So I'm sorry, but he did try to stop her from being kidnapped. But then Mandrill stabbed him. So Wolverine continues on, and maybe because he's concussed, if you guys remember, in every issue where Wolverine has a nightmare, he always forgets it as soon as he wakes up. He just has a bad feeling. But maybe because he's concussed, he's half conscious or something, he actually is having images from his nightmares. And this has never happened before. There's also an interesting thing they really haven't done. This third-person narrator really kicks in, as if you're reading an illustrated book, just talking about Wolverine. And then now, I didn't mention there's a total storm going on to add to the drama of this. So Wolverine walks a little farther, and he sees Mandrill and Templar fighting. So basically, Templar has been racked with guilt ever since he assaulted Agatha all that time ago. So that's why he was following. He wants to atone. So when he saw Mandrill, abducting her. He attacked Mandrill. Agatha ran off. And of course, Wolverine's is going to find her. We go back to New Hope, and we see Eleanor. You know, she's threatening Founder Ross, and now finally we get the truth, at least the truth about her dead husband, Reverend Treen. So I guess Reverend Treen was riling up stuff. You know, he wouldn't let it go about the killing the Quaker woman. And he basically was like, I'm going to be the justice of God's hammer, he says. I'm going to, you guys have to pay. So Wright told Mandrill, just to scare him, Founder Wright just said, go talk to that guy. He's got to stop this nonsense. He's got to shut up. But Mandrill, you know how he's a bloodthirsty brute. He just killed him. Or supposedly. This is the story. This is how Wright remembers it or knows the story. So, of course, Eleanor is just like, so you are responsible for his death, even if you didn't kill him. And then when she, like, is going to stab the wife, Wright's wife, but she, like, misses and hits the wall and totally gashes her hand. Now back to the outside in the storm. And we continue to see Wolverine's having flashbacks to the nightmare. It seems like it's actually turning into his father. It's not this weird monster anymore. It's almost like he's actually having memories. Kind of an interesting way to show repressed memories, where the nightmare vision is actually turning into a real memory. His father would like drown him in this water barrel, or like to the point of death, to punish him. So that's why Wolverine's had these nightmares about small spaces and being underwater and drowning. So, back to, back from his little day mare, Wolverine continues to look for Agatha, hoping to find her before Mandrill does. So he finds living quietly, blah, 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 blah. And he basically tells him, he's like, yeah, everyone's getting ready for war. So the Iroquois have had me basically be like a spy, checking up on New Hope. Since I'm, a white man, I might understand them better. And he tells Wolverine what really happened. So Mandrill was having this huge argument with Treen, and Treen basically picked up a gun and was going to shoot Mandrill after he struck him. But then Agatha ran out. She happened to be walking around in the woods, and she stopped him. She grabbed his rifle, and he fell into the ice and drowned. So it was Agatha, but not really Agatha. She didn't kill him. She just wanted him to not shoot Mandrill. So that's why she's been sleepwalking. The guilt of this, and that she suppressed it in her mind. Now back to New Hope, we see everyone is basically saying, Eleanor, you're bleeding to death. Let us help you. And she's like, help me. You're evil. And they're like, really, let us. But she keeps like slashing at them, and then she passes out from loss of blood. Man, the storm, it just looks like pure chaos. The way, look at the inking here by William Mesner Loebs. I've never really seen inking like this in this comic, but it really kind of conveys like this is some crazy storm going on. So Wolverine continues to look for Agatha, and he finally finds her in the river. He figures all the weird cryptic things she says when she's asleep, when she's sleepwalking, she's maybe going to drown herself to atone for, being the cause of Treen's drowning. He saves her. And then Mandrill shows up again. And luckily Elmer does too. And Elmer tries to fight off. He actually fires a gun at him. He misses. And then Mandrill is just kind of taunting him. He's like, hey, fill up the gun again. You got half a minute. Remember, just like I taught you. And Elmer's frantically trying to load this gun. And then he says, time's up. I'm basically going to kill you with my bare hands now. You didn't have time to put the musket ball in, did you? But then Elmer fires the gun anyway. And the ramrod actually becomes the projectile that goes right through his neck, it looks like. And he swats Elmer. He laughs. He's just so amazed. He's like, the ramrod. It blew up the gun, in fact. And he falls on top of Elmer. So I guess, I'm sorry, Wolverine hasn't quite saved Agatha. It's so like cold and slippery in there. He can't get a grip on her. He can't get his feet. That's a really nice panel there. And the whole time he's remembering his father drowning him, dunking him. And it looks like Wolverine's going down. And he's gonna die. He's remembering, he sees himself as a little boy. He was alone. He would drown in the barrel, alone. The dark men would laugh. No one would care. No one would save him. That was like just part of the huge fear of just like being killed by your father and nobody would care. Nobody would save you. But then right then, Agatha saves him. She yanks him by the hair and she just says, don't die. And they hug. That's a sweet moment. I love that. So, Wolverine tells her that her father isn't dead. Because, Watson. And they find Elmer. It looks like Mandrill somehow escaped with a ramrod going through his neck. Meanwhile, back at New Hope, it looks like they've saved Eleanor's life. She wakes up after some time. It's almost morning. And she's so confused. She's like, you're evil, my enemies. You saved me. Why? Because you were dying. Because we had to. But you're evil. You have to be evil. Oh, God. There's some like serious psychology going on with these characters here. So I'll just show you if there's any cool sketches. Here's a photo of William Messerlobe's meeting Will Eisner. It's kind of apropos. Some fan art and a nice little sketch by William Messerlobe's. And another Loeb's sketch. Okay, let's get to number 27. And this is the last issue of this 27-issue run. I like this cover. It's Elmer. It looks has a very strong sense of like finality and like this is the end of the road. So Elmer's basically filling Wolverine in on what he's found, thinking about this investigation of his. He says, where are you going, Wolverine? He says, I got to find Mandrill Ross. He says, why? To watch him die. He runs into Eleanor on the way out to find Mandrill, and she's just, her whole view of the world has totally changed. You know, she's just like, I don't understand good and evil anymore, Wolverine. They saved my life, and I'd have killed them. I don't know what good and evil mean anymore. Do you? And, of course, Wolverine gives a kind of homespunny response, you know. So he goes off to the woods to find Mandrill. And he finally does. And he says, I found you. He says, you? Why are you here? And Wolverine says, on account of no man ought to perish alone in the wilderness unseen to. So I come to watch you die. That's the kind of stuff that's just like so Wolverine McAllister. Like this old frontier kind of ethics or morality. He's He's not necessarily going to do much to save him, try to bring him back to life, but he's going to watch him die, so he doesn't have to die alone. He's pretty sure he's a goner. He says your wound's already turned septic. And so for the next few pages, I like this. We see it from the point of view of Mandrill. So he's floating in and out of consciousness every few hours, every few days. Wolverine brings him water. He's scratching the days into a tree so he can keep track. I love this how the lettering is all weird as he's coming to consciousness, because he's hearing like, and then it's clear. So to Wolverine's surprise, he's like, hey, I got you some squirrel. You know, it looks like you're not going to die after all, maybe. I don't know how. You got this thing sticking out of your neck. But somehow you're alive. And so Mandrill says, I'm going to pull it out. And we see Wolverine running towards him. No! And then he passes out again because that opened the wound. So Wolverine says if you can keep from ripping yourself open, it's pretty likely you'll live. I left a bunch of food. And watch out for the Iroquois. They'll flay you or turn you into a slave if they find you. And he basically says, I'm leaving. I came here to see you die, but you ain't dying no more. And of course, Mandrill's just dumbfounded. He's like, after all the things I did to you, I tried to kill you twice. So Wolverine says, well, that's why I took all your guns and your powder and your traps. I just left you a knife and your moccasins. And then back in New Hope, Eleanor and Elmer are rekindling their love. Wolverine walks in on him. Of course, there's a little comedy of just like, oh, I'm still married to you. He's all like, nah, we're not really married. I've been married to 12, Native American women for like treaties over the years. So it's not a real marriage. But of course, he's still married to Agatha. Elmer is. So he's got to get out of that. So he sees Agatha. Agatha's just like, oh, Elmer was so brave. Did you see how he fought for me? Now I know he loves me. She says, oh, I'm going to hide behind this tree and surprise him. I hear him coming. And he starts going on about how Elmer says, I got to get out of this marriage with Agatha. And he starts, and, Wolverine's all like, Kraft, shut up. Kraft, for God's sake, shut up. Because he doesn't want, poor Agatha's listening to this. And he's like saying mean things. He's like, oh, Agatha's a ignoramus. She's completely uneducated. I can't be married to a ninny like that. And finally, Wolverine just punches him in the gut and says, shut up. And of course, Elmer has no idea why. There's some funny stuff. I love this scene. And Wolverine tells him he's done. He's like, I'm taking off. Of course, Elmer tries to act like, he's insulting Wolverine. But you can tell he totally has grown a large affection for Wolverine. And he's actually kind of distressed that he's leaving and he won't see him again. I just love William Esderlobe's character writing, his dialogue, and just the way he reveals the characters and their motivations through their dialogue. Doesn't really tell you, but just really rich characterization in these comics. And Elmer kind of pleads with him. He says, just why don't you move to Boston with us? You'll live longer in civilization. You want to live out here and getting shot at, chased by wild beasts, frozen, and you'll live longer, he says. And Wolverine looks at him and says, just seems longer. And he walks off. And he turns and raises his gun to bid farewell to Elmer as these birds fly off into the sky. I love this page, just all the white. It's so simple, but it's effective. So Elmer, in his thoughts, you realize he really is going to miss Wolverine. And he sees Agatha, and she's like, hello, Elmer. So they're gonna, take care of that situation. And then I love this little flash forward. It's 1872, and we see these two adults here, and they're like, "What happened next, Grandpa?" And he's telling them the story. He's ancient. He must be 90 or something, and he's kind of senile, and he just kind of trails off. And it's kind of interesting, all this, like, talking about all this political stuff. I guess this guy's a mover in the political circles. I don't think we're ever going to see these characters again. But he adds all this little color background to it. And they leave him alone, their grandfather, Elmer. And then we see Elmer, he starts laughing to himself. Just seems longer. I see it. It was a joke. I love that. It took him like 60 years to understand what Wolverine was talking about civilization. I just love this ending. This is a great way to cap it off. It's good stuff. I think he already put this in a comic, but I guess him and his wife went to Hands Across America, so he made a cute little comic about it. That's pretty dumb. Hands Across America was pretty dumb. Letter pages, some fan art, and that's it for the main run of Journey. But guys, I'm going to show you real quick. This is kind of a bonus because it was never finished. So after number 27, he was going to take a break, and then from then on, Journey would appear as 6-issue miniseries, basically story arcs. And the first one was called War Drums. This was it's leading up to the War of 1812. And nice cover here. And I just want to flip this a little, because it's just the first chapter in a story that was never ever finished. And look at this, guys. I wish this went on. It looks really good in sepia. They decided to use sepia, like brown inks. And this one is almost like going back to the roots. We just see Wolverine dealing with simple problems. In this instance, it's fleas. He's been attacked by fleas. He's freaking out. And I love, this is like one of those wood lore things that William Eisner Loebs will drop on us, like Galileo dropped the orange. And this is some Huron trick. So he takes all of his clothes that are riddled with fleas. He can't get rid of them. He puts it on this anthill, and then he lets the ants and the fleas fight it out. And luckily, in the end, the fleas lost. That's just such an interesting idea. I love it. And then he runs down to the river, and he soaks. He tries to drown the fleas in his hair just by staying under as long as he can. And then when he opens his eyes, he's floated right near a beaver dam. Now, you don't think about this, but beavers are fucking savage. They can chop through trees with their giant jaws, with their giant teeth. So these beavers are protecting their dam, and they just start chomping into Wolverine. I've never thought beavers were that scary, but this is terrifying. He can't get much purchase from the slimy river bottom with his knife, so he can only push them away. And they're just chomping on him. He loses his knife, crawls to the shore, bashes this one beaver's head in, and then he realizes he needs his knife. The art looks really nice with this inks. It just makes it seem more old-timey. And so then for the next few days, it's just Wolverine camping out. Every morning, he spends the whole day searching for his knife, diving back into the water. I guess he really needs that knife. It looks like the art is sharpened up a bit in the interim. I guess he had a nice rest, And then he meets this crazy Native American guy who I think is whacked out on some kind of mushrooms or something. He seems insane, but then again, it could just be he has an infection, because he's really crazy and he thinks that Wolverine's a demon. And he starts stabbing him, trying to stab him. And then he kind of tells him that he fought a bear demon. And Joshua's pretty much just like, oh, so it was a real bear. You fought a bear and he raked your side and now it's infected. So yeah, maybe he didn't take drugs, guys, and that was a dumb interpretation. He's just addled. from, being near dead. And then I'm so bummed that this comic doesn't continue because we get little BK comes back, the Sentry. And now he's with the Native Americans, and the War of 1812 is about to begin. So he's in Quebec, and he's ready to repel the English invaders. And we see the Americans, to repel the Americans. And we see General Hall. These are real characters from history. I guess I've already described this too much. I was just going to show you real quick, but it was a really good issue, and it makes it even worse that it's over, because we'll never know what happens. I'd pay so much money to read the rest of War Drums, but I never will. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a Kickstarter. William Esnerlobes, in his old age, will complete it. We can always dream. So there you go, guys. Journey number 24 through 27, wrapping up our pretty long look at this series. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I loved rereading this again. My estimation of them has quadrupled. I thought I liked these in my memory. I was like, yeah, they're a good comic. And now I'm just crazy about them. I really like these. You can find them super cheap. As you noticed, in almost every issue, there's a stamp. These were always like for 25 cents. So that, use that bargain stamp on all of them. Almost every issue I have has a 25-cent stamp on it. So it's not hard to find if you're interested. But I guess that's it, guys. It was fun looking at these. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.